About 5 minutes left in the test run for this afternoon. I didn't get a full hour in. It took me a little longer to rebuild the fields. Had to do a design change, increase some thickness, increase some clearance, and added some density to the print. So we'll see what we get. It seems to be running. The tender seems to be doing its job. All these cars are going by without a lot of squeaks, so I'm guessing they're doing all right. I did grab it once to see how it felt, and the armature is warm. I would say that. The armature is warm, but I can't tell if there's any real friction or if it's just warm from being used and operated. One brush was particularly dusty. It had a lot of mushrooming out on the end. I cleaned both of them off. I wiped off the commutator. I lubed it, put it back together, spun freely. Lots of clearances, and it seemed like it was ready to go, and it was. It picked right up and took off. So we had we caught it early in a meltdown, and that was after a full hour at 17 volts. Well, 15 and then 17 towards the end. So we've had 2 hours total, plus this half an hour. But only a half an hour on this new field set. Now, I have 75% density, which is pretty dense, okay? I can go to 100. I can make it a solid plate piece of plastic, but it's fully dense out on the ends where this piece is being deformed when it heats up. So there's not a lot I can do to that to go any further. The next step, if this doesn't hold up, would be to do the annealing process. I have the annealing chamber set up. I put it in, I turn on my hot air gun, and I let it warm up. And when it reaches temperature, I put the part in, and we let it go for about 20-30 minutes. And it anneals the plastic at about 90 degrees C, which is pretty warm. They say it might deform, so I might put some bolts in it, just to keep the clearances, maybe the magnets and the bolts, just so that the gaps for the parts to fit in are okay, stay good. They don't close up on me. You can't really grind it or re-drill it. So it seems to be running. I did lube the linkage. That seems to have helped a little bit. I noticed a couple of the ends of the linkages are bent, so I got to flatten those out when I get it down again. So I've got 5 more minutes. I'm going to let it run, and I'll give you an update if there's anything to report back. And I will go in these last 5 minutes and try to fatten up the sides of the fan, the smoke box for the mini smokes. One side's fine, the other side moved on me. And that side is a little thinner. I know it, I saw it. And I didn't take the time to fatten it, but I will now. And I also will verify that the heater coil is centered. If it's still tight and it's centered, I may twist it at a 45 so it goes to the angles of the corners, and that gives everybody a little more air gap. See how that works, if I have to do that. There's a few things left before I throw in the towel, that's for sure. Annealing is probably going to be the next step if this thing doesn't work. I've maxed out all I can do with the magnet position and the bolts. The magnets are in the furthest out that they can go given the design of this engine. You know, I'm trying to retrofit to a 1949 basically engine, maybe even 46. Okay, so we're coming down to it. I'm going to let it run. I'll get back to you later if I have any news. Bye.